typical fashion, I picked up another project that I didn't need. Um, Picked up this PW50 for my nieces and needed some love. But it's a pretty cool bike overall. Looks like it was set up to race at some point in time. So kind of going through it. Looks like it needs some tires and definitely needed some steering set bearings. Take a look at these old ones. It's pretty common with the PW50s. They take quite a beating in that area, and once they fail, they're known to bend the stem or twist the stem a little bit, as well as the frame. You can see here, this one falling apart. We ordered a new set, and we'll be replacing those today. Didn't take anything for the disassembly, but it's essentially the assembly in reverse, obviously. Another project we've been working on is this updated or hopped up power wheels. We'll have more on that in another video. In the meantime, the Nova that was originally here, as well as the Porsche 911, are all gone. We picked up a 2500 you can see out in the driveway, and the LS is getting pretty close to being finished. Don't mind the mess, it's just the way this garage is all the time. Probably working clean edges. So we picked up these billet, like a billet tapered bearing kit that Aftermarket Minis puts together for the PW50. This is their sticker. I've read a bunch of good stuff about them on the forum, so we went with the taper bearing instead of those ball bearings like in the OEM stuff. So I've already done the previous work of taking off this bottom race and putting the new one on. Don't have a press here, so what I did was use the jack handle, which is essentially the right diameter to get over that. Put a little bit of electrical tape on the bottom and a good old rubber mallet, and we pressed her home that way. Like I said, the disassembly, that was the hardest part. I had to heat it, torch it, and then take it off that way. So we should be in good shape for the reassembly of this piece. Alright, so looking at the bike, obviously we took apart the least amount of stuff possible. Left all the cables hooked up, aside from the front brake cable, which was way out of adjustment anyway. I left all the parts over here, obviously labeled what I needed to label. We'll go ahead and start putting this thing back together. Again, don't mind the garage, it's a bit of a mess. It's just the way I think I have. For kind of a snug fit, but I think we're going to be all right. Again, like I said, everything's going to go together loosely until we figure out exactly the home for it, and that's just the way it's probably best to be put back together. Last thing you want to do is tighten everything up and then have to chase back where things don't fit, or how come they don't fit. This bike has the oil delete done. Not something I would have done, but I guess with 100 different owners, probably 5 different owners, however many, it decided that the oil delete was something they wanted to do. All right. Now, one thing I will make note is there's 2 different type of PW50s. There's your, I think it's 17 and earlier, and then 17 and up. And the difference is, as far as I can tell, the lower clamp on the early ones are it's not a bolt clamp like what we have here. It's more of a just a stamp steel like this is. So there is an upgrade kit. I'm just hitting this with a little bit of silicone. It's giving me a little bit of tightness trying to get in there. There is a kit you can order. Actually, I think it's just a stem. Wow, this is way tighter than it was coming apart. So I would suggest if you could upgrade to this type of stem, just makes things easier, a little bit stronger. Apparently a little less headaches as far as the abuse goes on the lower triple tree. So there's that. Now, that being said, I don't think there's a right and a wrong way as far as these things go. I mean, it's a child riding it. We're not talking about, the future MX racer here. Well, we are talking about the future MX racer, but we're not talking about, Jeremy McGrath beating on this thing. But that being said, there is quite a bit of following on these things as far as a racing series, which is really cool. Like I said, I bought this for my nieces. Kind of hoping that maybe they can get involved in some of this stuff, which would be really cool. I loved riding dirt bikes as a kid, and I'm kind of hoping to share that love with the next generation. These top studs, or these top nuts, I believe, were 17s when I took this all apart. So we're going to try that. Could be wrong though. Nope, 17s. Follow me on Instagram. You've probably seen recently that I started TIG welding a lot more than I used to. Really getting into that, really enjoying it. It's been a blast, and definitely recommend it if you can pick up a trade like that and learn. That's great. So I don't really have a torch sequence or setting for these. We're just going to go to what the Germans would call Guten Tight. It's nice and tight, and I'll tell you what, already a major difference from when I bought this thing. The ones that were in this, you obviously saw in that previous picture, was shot. I mean, you couldn't even roll the bike around because the stem, this bearing was fine, the upper was so bad, and somebody had taken it apart, I guess to inspect it or check it out or something, and you couldn't even move the stem back and forth side to side full lock. It was so far out of whack. It was unbelievable. I doubt anybody wrote it, but it's one of those things. If I'm going to put it back together, we're going to do it the right way. Now, the lower bolts on this are 2 10mm. Really simple. Same thing. We'll probably just get an extension and a 10 mil, and we're gonna go snug, good and tight, I guess you'd call it. Probably get the kids to ride this thing a little bit and then re-torque everything down. I lied. They're 12s. So let's see here. Dog's barking in the background. There we go. Come on. The fork leg bolts are 10s. That's where I got the 10s. So you need a 17, a 12, and a 10mm for this job. And then I think the front axle was I want to say it was a 15 and 17. that is my pup, Hercules, barking. We'll have. So, yeah, we'll get this put back together. Again, like I said, you know, nothing too crazy here. It's very simple. These bikes are really easy to work on. And, okay. Alright, tighten this one down. Tighten this one down. We can take this thing full lock to lock. Now what I will do is probably pull some of this stuff up. I don't really like that. So remember I was talking about that routing. This is, I don't want to say trial and error, but you gotta kind of, I think I did this really wrong, so this has got to go, let's go under. There we go. Same with these. I forgot these go through, there's a small bracket on the bottom of the, this one's probably going to be a pain to get apart, but we'll see what happens. Yep. There is a small, very small grommet opening in the fork here, and it's meant for this wiring harness. Now, I had trouble with this one when I took this apart. Come on. There we go. This goes, put this route underneath like it should. Sorry if you lose the video. I trying a new mount out. It's a chest mount for fishing. We're gonna play with that a little bit. So sorry if we lose you on some of this stuff, but I think we'll be okay. All right. Now, where I routed those cables for the wiring harness, that's the opening for the oil. There's an oil tank for these because, like I said, they run now this thing runs premix, but there was an oil injection system on this bike, so that's how this thing ran. I'm gonna get some zip ties, probably zip tie that up from here. Throw a zip tie and everything else, make it nice and tight. Back to where that number plate goes. Alright, super easy, like I said, disconnection and install. I guess next we'll go ahead and put the front wheel on. I'll hook up the front brake, we'll go through adjusting that, and then put the seat on. And that's going to be it for this one. Again, super simple. Like I said, you know, nothing crazy, but something to, if you don't know, now you know. So, on this, I have a notch right here. This notch lines up with this, and there's a spacer or washer. Got to make sure this washer stays. Goes on the inside, I believe. No, the outside. I apologize. So we go like this. Now what I should have done, I didn't think about this, is probably put the fork. Oh, I should have put the fork legs. This goes inside like that. Should have taken the fork legs down after I got this together. It probably would have made life a little bit easier, but alright. So then this nut's got a lock in it, so it shouldn't back off. Keyword shouldn't. I've seen them before where they back off. So just as a heads up. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that. Like I said, this I think is a 17 and that's a 15. And we'll go from there. Use the field impact driver for everything. So we're going to leave this 12 out because we will need that, or I'm sorry, this 10. We're going to need that for the back seat. So just as a heads up, yeah, this is 17 or 15. Let's see. Nope, I lied. Oh wait, maybe I didn't. Nope. Okay. Alright, so we're all snug there. I think these wheel bearings were done at one point because they are really snug. So now we put the brake cable in. This is actually, there is a way to do this and you can mess it up, so I'll go ahead and do this right here. So take your brake cable. This is kind of a pain, but if you've done them before, you can do them. Just get that thing lined up. Then you push it in, comes back. This is, you have your cable that sits in here, and now your adjustment collar is right here on the bottom. Sometimes, like in this case, it's a little tight, so you gotta kind of hold it, lever back, and then get it to cycle in there. Now, there is a nut on the other side of this that you gotta kind of get hooked up onto the, now it's, so this is threaded. Focus. This is threaded. There's a nut down here. This nut you tighten up, and it rides on, tightens up on here, and then when you pull the cable, it'll adjust the drums in there. So let's see. Sometimes these things can be a little bit of a fight. What I might try to do is use a 1/4" 10. That might work. Probably not, because I don't have it deep. Actually, I do. So, I'll try a 1/4". This one's kind of a pain. Just lay down for it. Now, if you can't get tightened, you may have to try to like re-thread that in there. This nut is not very forgiving in the sense that there's not a lot to get on it with. So just as a heads up, you will strip it out if you just try to use like an impact on or something like that. Now, I'm sure online there's a manual how to do this. I had an XR50 and a 70 for a while, and all I would do is get it kind of snug, get it so it would stop, and then take it back a couple turns, just so you don't have to worry about, little kid going over the bars. Alright, so in my case, what's happening here is it's spinning. It's trying to spin the cable when we tighten this, so we'll see if we can get this to work. Yeah, so you may have to get a set of pliers. That's probably what we're gonna have to do. And hold. There's a flat spot here. You can hold this set of pliers. Tighten down this nut. Let's see. Because you don't want to. You're going to twist the cable in there if you, although, yeah, we got a bunch of adjustment left. Alright, so in this case, use a set of vice grip. It's like a little bit easier. Let's see. So we're going to hold that just like that. there's a chance that these brakes will need to be adjusted or redone. I don't know, I didn't take the wheel apart, but we'll give it a shot. Tightening the adjustment like I am, and we'll see how far we gotta go. Again, it's gonna be for a couple young children, so we want to make sure we have good brakes. Nothing works, everything works without issue. So, remember before I was talking about adjusting this, totally forgot that this spring goes in here. So, all that adjustment work I just did was for no reason other than to redo this again. Let's see. Oh man, it's always worse taking this stuff off. So it's end of February, and it was almost 63 degrees today, which is awesome. And I'm hoping that means spring is right around the corner, because we had a very limited winter this year, and I'm ready to get into some new projects this year. I really think there's supposed to be a spacer on this, and there is. Alright, well, that's a good thing. I totally forgot that there's like a locking cam nut almost that's got to go on this, so I think that's what I gotta order. Let's see. Let's argue this. Alright, so we had a little bit of a memory card issue. Memory card got full. We're gonna get back on this. Alright, so adjusted that front brake. Ideally, looks like the shoes are gonna need to be done in the drums, but we can adjust that or touch that on another day. So what I did was, just in like the previous section, we used some vice grips and the 10mm. Went ahead and tightened up that nut. All we did was we would give it a little few spins like this, and then you grab the lever and get it to stop. In this case, I left a little bit of play. We can always come back out on that, but that seems about right for this thing, especially for a first-time rider. We don't want to go too crazy. You don't want them too touchy. You also don't want them too loose, right? We want to make sure that these girls are going to be able to stop. Everything's going to be good for them. So, that being said, I've got the front fenders off. Super simple on these things. It's just a set of Phillips heads. Go ahead and get that on. Actually, before we do that, I need to put some zip ties on front area. Alright, so we got some fuel. This thing was apparently tuned or ran to run 50 to 1 is what the previous owner told me. We'll take a crack at that. I think it's going to be a little too lean, but I'll go with what he says. We can always adjust it from there. Alright. Couple zip ties. Alright, so for this one, I'm going to go right to this cable. I want to make sure that nothing's binding. In this case, we're going to go through here. Looks like there might be. No. Tighten this one down to right here. And then we'll put one to the handlebars. Alright. So dikes. Snip those off. I'm a little upset. had everything accounted for on this bike, and now somehow in my travels here we lost a screw. Not something I was really happy about, but we figured it out. So go ahead and get a Phillips head screwdriver. I'm kind of upset, like I said. I had accounted everything. In fact, I even put the screwdriver or the screw back in that hole, thinking that, you know, I won't ever have to worry about losing something, but actually, let's see. I bet you, there we go. I did the press over here, quote unquote press, and we went and we did that bottom race and made sure that was driven home pretty nicely. And I wanted to make sure that. Alright, it's going to give me a little trouble. So there's a notch that you got. There we go. There's a notch you got to line up on the top of this, and then you. What's up? It's gonna be kind of hard to see this, but go ahead and take these down. Just your standard number 2 or JOC screw underneath holds them on. This is really easy design. So what's cool about this bike is, aside from, like I said, the suspension changes and a couple other small things, since the 80s this bike has been the same. A few years ago I bought myself, I shouldn't say bought myself, I bought an 87, I think it was. It was a red and black, which was such a cool combo, or red and white rather, which is such a cool combo, traditional Yamaha. And I put that one together. I ended up trading that one for a Yamaha Blaster, which I then sold the Blaster. So I like buying these bikes if I can get them cheap enough for, well, A, they're easy to work on, and B, they're kind of cool. Like, they're just simple. Alright. So, put some tools back. Now we can go ahead and put that seat on. Put this socket back. Seat and the seat and rear fender are all one shot. It's two 10mm, and they go right on. So my idea here is we're gonna put seat back on, and then all right, so that's something I didn't notice before. This tank, there we go. That's a strap. I don't know if you caught that. There's a strap right here. This holds your tank down. It's kind of loose. I may need to adjust my tank or tighten it down, I guess. This may be an aftermarket tank. Sometimes the aftermarket stuff doesn't fit right. We'll see. Not really worried about it. We'll get it taken care of. So my plan is to sort this thing out fairly soon, being that spring's right around the corner. I would really like to get my nieces out on this thing. So tighten these down. I think these are aftermarket plastics. Either way, they'll be fine. So the guy that I bought it from, I don't think he really knew what he had. A, I got this thing super cheap. B, he bought it and he said it was sitting for 10 years. Well, I got news for him. This is a fairly newer bike, so I don't think he knows what he had or really cared. So it's a local guy. Looks like he's getting ready to sell his property along with a bunch of other stuff that's on the property, including a bunch of old cars. No, I don't think I'm buying one unless he wants to come off. He's got a 68 Nova SS that is in pieces and would make a sick drag and drive car, but short of that, I don't think I'm going to be buying anything. At least without permission of Katie, Mrs. Chop Shop. Alright. So that's together. I'm going to head and close this garage door in case I fire this thing up and it smokes like a pig. I'd like to make sure that we don't smoke out the inside. Alright. So I need to order a gas cap. This one's nice and broken. Again, one of those things, how you break a gas cap. So this is some BP 50 to 1. I didn't get a lot of it because I want to, what the previous owner said is that it was 50 to 1 and that he ran it like that, which is not unheard of, especially for race bikes, but my idea was to put some fresh fuel in it and then get it to run, and then from there get some plug reading on it and see where we can go from there. It's funny, I said the thing didn't run that great. I assumed that there was no gas in it, which we're looking at, like, it's a half-gallon tank and there was roughly nothing in it because just killed about a half gallon of this, as well as I'm sure that fuel is old. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to spin this around. We're going to put this to the start position, give it some choke. All right. Maybe no choke. Huh. I fired up before. Let's see. Sounds like it might be close. Alright, well, I don't want to flood it. Actually, alright, well, looks like we have another fun process to figure out what is going on with this thing. Alright, well, on another episode, we'll go ahead and try to get this thing running. Till then, enjoy.